Okay, it's already live. We'll wait for people to get here. Testing. Hello? All right. Wow, y'all. Hey. I see y'all. Can you hear me fine in chat? If you can hear me, let me know. English. Y'all, this is my first live. Well, let me do this. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get started. And people can join and they can start from the beginning so they won't miss anything. But I wanted to do a live because there's so many people that are having issues with mixing resin, measuring resin. How long do you stir? Do I set a timer and then once the timer goes off, do I stop stirring and everything's good? Do I need to wait and check to see if it's clear? I made a lot of notes based on the questions and things that I have been getting and that I've been seeing in our resin group. So let's start off, before we go to colorants, I want to move that out of the way. Let's talk about resin. And we have told you guys you don't weigh resin unless the brand tells you specifically to weigh your resin. So a lot of times people use these cups. This is one that hasn't been cleaned, but you can see it's already marked with, I want to hold it so y'all can see it. All right, you see it's marked with measurements and lines on these cups. You have to be careful with some of these cups. We have found out that some of them are not accurate in their measurements. So a way to avoid that is, and I'm going to use these as an example. Same part A, fill it up to the top, to the rim. Same part B, fill it up to the rim. Doesn't matter how much it weighs, how many ounces. It's the exact same of A, the exact same of B. Mix them together, it will cure just fine. So when we say measure by volume, that is what we mean. The exact same amount of A, the exact same amount of B, which could just be the cap from the resin. It doesn't matter. So that is that part. Now let's talk about the different resins that there are. Y'all hear me mention all the time, viscosity or the thickness of resin really plays a big part in the projects that you want to complete. There is a regular resin, like, well, no, that's not my regular resin. Do I have my, yes, I have. I know I do. Where are you hiding? Oh, here we go. This is regular resin, right? This is the teak spurt. They're crystal clear, they're regular, and this is a medium viscosity. This is less resin, their regular resin, same thing. All about the same viscosity. And then you have a tabletop resin or a coating resin. This is higher viscosity, it is thicker. So this resin is more appropriate to top coat your items, pour on a canvas, because you don't want, and I just grabbed a canvas here. So if you pour it on a canvas and you have a thicker resin, guess what happens? It stays where it's supposed to. It's not going to thin out real quick. Whereas if you use a thinner resin, when you pour it on the canvas, it's going to run off really quick because it's super thin like water. And when that happens, that's what causes the fish eyes on these canvases. So I know a lot of people have asked, and I'm going to keep looking over here in my chat. So when you come in, say hi in chat so I know you're here. But we're going to keep going. And if you have a question, drop it in chat and I will answer it live for you today. You won't have to go in comments and then wait for my response to your comment. You can ask me live in the chat. I will get you an answer. But, hey, Zam. There's my favorite girl. So what I was talking about with thinner resin on canvas, resin shrinks as it dries. So if you use a thin resin, one, it runs off really fast. Two, when it shrinks, you get those divots or fish eyes is what we call them on a canvas. And that's no bueno, no good. So we use a coating resin, a tabletop, whatever you want to call it. Even a fast cure is thicker. You could use that too to top coat and coat your canvas. But remember, if you use a fast cure, you are in crunch time. You're very limited. And this is a fast cure. A 4-hour cure, a quick cure, it's all the same thing. But it's thicker resin, which is more appropriate for canvases or top coating a coaster. Hey Wild, good to see you. If you have any questions that you want answers to about mixing or pouring resin, let me know in chat and I will get an answer. I wrote a bunch of notes about all the questions that I've been seeing in the resin groups, so I can get y'all an answer today. And if there's other questions you have, tell me and we'll get to it, I promise. So back to the different resins. There's also a deep pour resin that, oh, here we go. Here's my deep pour. A deep pour resin, that is a different measurement. It is a 2-to-1 ratio. It is like water. It is super, super thin, and it takes days to cure. The difference with this is you can pour it over an inch. There's still limitations. You can't pour deep pour over 3 inches, but double check the brand limitation because each brand has a different limit. So the biggest takeaway from today is follow the instructions on what the brand tells you. They're going to tell you what the work time is. They're going to tell you how long to mix it, but we're going to get into that in just a minute because it's not just a time thing. And they're going to tell you what the limitation is as far as thickness, how thick you can pour. This Wild, you asking about this? I'm gonna wait till I see your answer in chat. Is this what you were asking about? This is deep pour resin. Right there. It's what you use for deeper projects. And I'm trying to think. Do I have a deep pour? So a deep pour project would be anything over, say regular resin, your limit is like 1 inch, okay? You can't pour more than 1 inch or you're gonna get a flash cure. So if you use deep pour resin, you can pour up to 3 inches at one time and not get a flash cure. So if you're doing a table, if you're doing, like a lot of people do, the flowers in the thick mold, that's what they use deep pour for. So they can pour more at one time without a flash cure, but there's a trade-off because when you pour more at one time, it takes 2 or 3 days for that to cure. So if you have a long time to work on your project, that is an easy way that you can pour in less layers in something that is thick, or deep is more accurate. So that's what a lot of people use deep pour for. That's a good question. And Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you. Yes, we're rather close. Days away. Like I told my grandbaby, you can count it now on one hand. So she's excited. All right, so we went through the different types of resin. And now let's talk about pouring, or not pouring, mixing resin, because there's a lot of confusion about that. So when you, where'd my cup go? When you pour your resin, you put part A, part B into your cup. You're gonna see streaks, like little jellyfish. That's probably a good way to explain it or describe it. Like jellyfish floating in your resin, right? And you start mixing, you start stirring, and the jellyfish start disappearing. That's what you want. So a lot of people out here, and they've been saying, well, I mixed for 5 minutes and it's still not curing right. Well, that is because it is not a time thing. You can't just mix 3 minutes and stop, or 5 minutes and stop. That is a guesstimate of how long it's going to take to mix your resin so all the jellyfish, the streaking, is gone. You want this stirred until it is completely see-through, clear, with no streaks. That's when you know your resin is ready. So if you've been setting a timer and at 5 minutes you say, okay, good, stop, and you start pouring your project, and if you're having issues with it not curing, that's why. So throw the timer away and mix until it's clear with no jellyfish. Does that help? I hope so, because there have been a lot of questions about it. So, all right, we talked about, and y'all, I'm going down my little checklist here so I don't forget anything. Again, make sure that you're listening to the brand directions, so you know what they recommend, okay? And like I said, the times are guesstimates about how long it's going to take for your resin to be clear. So that covers that. And again, pay attention to your work times. People don't realize you're on the clock with your work time the second that you pour A and B together. You don't even have to start mixing it yet. Once it combines, your work time has started. So if you're using a fast cure, you only have 20 minutes from the time you pour it together, get it all mixed so it's clear with no streaking, add your colorants, add your glitter, and have it poured in the mold in 20 minutes. It has to be poured out and done in 20 minutes. So you have to do all of that stuff in 20 minutes. I always suggest with fast cure that you have little cups with your colorant already ready to go. So if I'm using mica, I have my mica powder I want to use in the cup. If I'm using a paste, I have it on my stick in the cup. If I have glitter, I pour the glitter in the cup. So all I have to do is pour my resin into each of these, mix it up, and I'm ready to pour. because 20 minutes goes fast, y'all, let me tell you. I'm anxious every time I use a fast cure. So beware of those limitations. Um, let's see, what else? I think that covers what I wanted to really go over and cover all the questions that we've been seeing in group, all the questions that I have been getting personally. So let's talk about colorants now, because people are getting very confused about colorants. And I came up with a very easy way for you to remember this. So let's talk about pigment paste first, okay? And I love Eye Candy's pigment paste. You can see, I use this white and I've had it for a long time, over a year. And I'm gonna have to order a new one in the next week. But it lasted that long. It does not take very much at all to achieve the color that I want. And this is their Satori White. It's the only white pigment paste that Eye Candy has. And it also has an additive in it for selling and lacing to make your ocean waves and things like that. But when you use a paste, it's heavy. You put it on your stick, and if you blow at your stick, can it come off your stick? No, it stays where it's put. The same thing in your resin projects. If you're making a coaster, let's say, you pour your pigment paste, once you've mixed it in your resin, it's gonna stay where you put it. It's like a brick. It stays where it goes. You can't blow it and move it. It's not going anywhere. That is why I highly recommend using paste for your geodes, because mica and all that's gonna move. It doesn't matter. Mica always wants to move to the middle. So if you use a pigment paste, it's gonna stay where you put it, and you're gonna get that clean separation of colors that you're looking for in a geode. So, I say pigment paste is a brick, not going anywhere, okay? And then the other end of the spectrum, let's talk about alcohol inks. And I love Let's Resin because let me tell you, when it comes to paste and mica and your colorants, quality really does matter. I like Let's Resin's alcohol inks because they stay vibrant and they don't fade as quickly as some of the others that I've used. But alcohol ink is at the other end. Well, we'll do it this way. Paste is a brick right here, not going anywhere. Alcohol ink is like a helium balloon. It's always floating to the top, and it moves easy in just a gentle breeze, right? Have you ever just gently blown on a helium balloon? It moves everywhere, right? Same thing with alcohol ink. It moves and dances and does its own thing, and it's always floating to the top. So that is that end-to-end spectrum. Now we come to mica powders, and this is a Mayspring powder. They are mica in the middle. That's what I say. Mica powder is between a helium balloon and a brick. Mica does move in resin, and it always wants to move toward the center of your piece. So if you have a coaster, and I have some examples hiding somewhere. Where are you? Oh, there you are. So if you have a coaster like this one, are we still there? Oh no, did I freeze? Did I freeze? No. Yo. Come on. Come on. Oh, y'all. Definitely working out bugs. Let me tag nab it. All right, let me reopen a live. Sorry, y'all. Told you we're working out kinks And of course, there's going to be issues. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Go grab a drink, grab a snack, some popcorn. We'll be right back. Ugh.